Good morning, everyone. My name is Paul, and I'm a nerd, and you are here for the, I always say gosh, like I'm surprised that it's August, but I guess I am, the August 2015 Coffee Pot webinar, where today we are talking about something called Symphony OCR, and more about that in a minute and why you care. But first, a word from our sponsor, who I guess would be GoToWebinar, because this is the GoToWebinar control panel. And if you are still seeing this somewhere off on the right-hand side of your screen, then you have not pressed this button that looks like an arrow pointing to the right, because had you done that, this would fly off the right side of your screen, and the only thing that would be left would be these buttons. And when that happens, this button turns into an arrow that points to the left, because clicking it again causes this to come back onto your screen, which is what you would want to do if you're shy and you have a question, because you can click here. Oop, I shouldn't be clicking because it's not. This is actually a picture. But beyond that, stop laughing, Leanne. Beyond that, if you click here, which I will not do, and type your question, and then remember to click send, which I will not do, then Leanne, our humble and amused moderator, will recognize that you have a question, and she will interrupt me at just the right time and read your question on your behalf. Now, I say this at the virtual user group meetings about me and Mary Jo, but it's really me that tends to ramble and get off track. So here you are, it's something that just features me, so I might get off track. And if that's the case, or if you have a follow-up question, or if I'm just not answering the right question, then type your follow-up questions here. Remember to keep hitting send, and Leanne will keep interrupting me to keep me on track. Now, if you'd like to instead press this button that looks like a hand with an arrow pointing upwards in front of it, which means, wait for it, raise your hand, then Leanne will do the same thing. She'll recognize that you have a question. She will interrupt me at just the right time, but instead of reading your question on your behalf, she will unmute your microphone and you can ask your own question. That channel of communication will remain open. Your microphone will remain unmuted until I'm done answering your question. So you feel free to just jump in and ask follow-up questions or keep me on track, and we will be sure to get your question answered. So now, without further ado, we're going to talk. Now, I say we're going to talk after I press the magic buttons here. I say we're going to talk because I kind of hinted that I would demonstrate Symphony. But there's really nothing to demonstrate. Symphony is one of those things, Symphony OCR, is one of those things that works in the background, makes things happen, people are happy about them, I'll tell you why, and nobody ever really looks at it. Okay, so what does Symphony do? Well, this is Practice Master's document search screen, and maybe you have World Docs. Symphony works with regular files, or it works directly with World Docs. And I say regular files because that's what Practice Master would be. There are just files in a folder structure on your hard disk that Practice Master happens to have links to. So those would be quote-unquote regular files, or what they call the Windows file tree version. Or World Docs. This is the World Docs screen, and you can search within here. And when you search for something in either of those programs, you have the option to look at text that is within the document. Here, if you type it simply right here, you're looking for text that's in that document. In World Docs, if you go into the advanced search screen and get down to where it's got this text and file, that will look for text in the file. And so people expect when they type something that they think is in the document, that it will find documents that contain that word or phrase. And they are used to, prior to having a document management system like World Docs or Practice Master or whatever, they're used to only being able to find things by file name, and so now they're very happy to be searching specifically for text in the file. And that works great. Word documents, Practice Master and World Docs can index those words automatically. PDFs, most of them. Practice Master and World Docs can index those words, but there's a difference between a readable and a non-readable PDF. if you pull up a PDF, and I'm going to try and find a PDF here. Gosh, where would I go to look for that? I'm going to see if I can find a PDF so I can demonstrate this to you. So let's go over here and look at my docs folder and see if I can find anything. You yell, Leanne, if you see something. Do you have any in your folder? No. Do we have any here? Yeah, okay. So here's a PDF. This is a flyer about Platinum software from Software Technology, Platinum Tabs 3 and Practice Master. And when I go into this PDF and I click and drag my mouse, I don't get anything. Do you see how that doesn't do anything? Now, actually, I think I'm in a different software than Adobe. Let's see what happens when we do this. Nope, it is the mouse. And are we selecting? Let's look. Okay. You see how I get that box? That box indicates to me that this PDF is not readable. Because if this PDF were readable and I clicked right here at the beginning of tabs 3 and dragged my mouse over to the right, I would expect to be blocking text. And I am not. So although the PDF software knows that if it puts the right dots with the right colors in the exact right places, that it will recreate a facsimile of this document, it has no idea that this is a T and that that's an A and that's a B and that's an S and that's a 3. That is the difference between a readable and a non-readable PDF. Now, some of you know this, some of you don't. It's just like a facsimile machine. And you can tell how old I am because I don't call it a fax machine. And you can tell how old I am because I even know what a fax machine is. Or it's just like television, at least in the olden days when we had antennas. And I suppose the way television works with cable. Dots travel across the air or over a cable and are recreated in exactly the right order at exactly the right pace to create television, or to recreate a facsimile, or to capture a PDF. So when you scan something and it's not made readable, all it knows is that if it puts the right dots in the right order, that it will recreate that. Now, most software, including this, and you'll have to excuse me, I don't do this, so I don't even know where it would be, but somewhere in here, there is a way to make your document readable. It's called OCR, which stands for Optical Character Recognition. And so people have Adobe, this is Nitro. There are many PDF software packages out there. And you can scan something, and then you can make it readable. And most people that are scanning things that come in from the outside world are doing that. Several problems. If you're doing it a lot, it takes a bit of time. If I were to scan a 50-page pleading or brief or set of interrogatories, and then I was going to OCR them, then it might take a minute or two or 3 or 4 or 5, depending on how big the document it is, how fast my computer is, how much RAM I have, how much available hard disk space. All those things are factors in how long it takes to OCR. And so some people think, well, no big deal. We have a file clerk, and that file clerk can scan those documents and then OCR them. And that's true. However, if you've got a document management system, you've got several problems. Number one problem being attorneys. Maybe paralegals too, maybe legal assistants too, but I like to pick on attorneys. An attorney gets an email. In that email are several PDFs of whatever. Either intentionally or unintentionally, the other side, the person who has sent them to the attorney, has not made them readable. Those PDFs are not readable for whatever reason. The attorney, being a diligent attorney, knowing that he or she has to manage their system well and keep track of these documents, will go and grab the document and pull it right into the work zone and drop it there into World Docs, or they'll go into Practice Master and they'll get that document into Practice Master's document management system. But They don't know that it has to be made readable. They don't care. They don't have time. You haven't trained them to do this. So that's one problem. Documents don't just come, PDF documents don't just come into your system as a result of your people scanning them and knowing what to do in order to make them searchable, readable, both the same thing. If it's not readable, it's not searchable. The other problem, among many, I mean, these are the two major reasons that you need something that automatically makes your documents readable. The other problem is your legacy data. If you have a document management system, Practice Masters, document management, Time Matters, Amicus, World Docs, iManage, I don't care what, if you have World Docs, for instance, there is a point in time where you put it in. And every document that was saved before that, up until the time that you put the software in, is your legacy document store, your legacy document group, if you will. You may have hundreds, you may have thousands, you may actually have hundreds of thousands of PDFs in that legacy group that date back, weeks, months, years, decades. And naturally, many of those PDFs are not going to be readable. So that's another reason to get something that's going to make these documents readable. And that's what Symphony OCR is. Now, I can't really demonstrate it to you because it simply runs. You don't see it. Here's the theory. You put a document into World Docs, Symphony is hooked into your indexer. If you don't know what that means and you have World Docs, don't worry. The indexer is just something that runs and makes everything indexed. And Symphony is hooked into your indexer, and it walks through any new document, any new PDF or TIFF, which is just another way to have something represented graphically. Any new PDF that comes into your system, Symphony looks at it, sees if it's readable, and if it is not readable, it puts it into a queue to be made readable. Now, if you're not dumping thousands of documents into World Docs all at once, which can sometimes happen when you're taking documents that are produced in a litigation. But if you're not, then that means that that document that was dragged from somebody's email into World Docs will be readable within a matter of moments. Same thing is true for Practice Master, except the version of Symphony that runs with Practice Master and other simple file tree type document management systems, it's not quite as sophisticated in that it doesn't know that that document was dropped into Practice Master seconds ago. And so Symphony needs to, quote unquote, walk the tree, walk the document tree, walk through all the documents every night. And it does that. So with that sort of an implementation of Symphony, those documents are searchable the next day. Now, frankly, with World Docs, although Symphony may turn that document into readable, that PDF into something that's readable within seconds or minutes, World Docs usually is only set to reindex your text files every night anyways. So in theory, and this is something that people that are using World Docs and Practice Master should be aware of, when you get a new document and put it into the document store, it really isn't full text searchable until the next day. Okay? But the point is, with Symphony running, it is automatically going to make everything that it can readable. Now, there are certain documents that it can't. If it's password protected, Symphony can't do that, but it's creating a log of those, and those can still be made readable by somebody that's monitoring that log. Sometimes PDFs get put into the system and they're corrupted in such a way that Symphony can't read them. Very rare, but it happens. But the point is, with Symphony running, you get that assurance, that good feeling that every time that you go to search for something and you're expecting to find your search results in the full text, you are going to get what you're looking for. And a lot of people may have World Docs or may be using Practice Master or Amicus or Time Matters for document management and may be assuming that they're getting that. And if they're not making those documents, those PDFs readable, if they're not on an individual basis, looking at them to see if they're already readable and taking documents like this that aren't readable and making them readable, then they're not getting that result, even though they may be expecting to or thinking that they're always searching the full text of everything that's in there. So that's what Symphony provides, peace of mind. And it does it in the background without you ever having to worry about a thing. Once it's set up, it's ready to go. Now, you're wondering how much does this cost? It's very simple. It's $45 per user per year. Symphony is a service that runs on your hardware, runs on your system, and is priced by the number of users. So if you have a 10-user WorldDocs installation, Symphony will cost you $450 per year to run. It's renewable. There is no limit to the number of pages that you can scan or make readable. There used to be, so if you're out there and you're thinking, well, I thought it was, it's not anymore. You're paying simply for the number of users now if you're listening to this and you already have Symphony. But they changed that about a year or two ago. It now is priced exclusively by the number of users without any limit on the number of pages that can be scanned. And that's it. I read through the description of the webinar this morning, and I realized that we said we were going to demonstrate how Symphony works. And as I'm thinking about how I'm going to do that, I realized I can't demonstrate Symphony because Symphony just works. It doesn't really do anything that is demonstrable. But that's the beauty of Symphony. It runs simply in the background, making everything readable. And so with that, I'm going to bop out here to our website and show you that you have access to this and every other webinar that we produce, and we do these webinars on a monthly basis. All you need to do is go to attorneycomputersystems.com. Notice the emphasis on the S at the end of systems. And once you're there, if you click on videos, you will go right to our video page that describes all the videos and takes you to those individual pages. Or if you simply hover over the menu item, you'll get the drop-down that also lists them. So we have our virtual user group meetings, of which there are 3 tabs: Practice Master and WorldDocs. We have our Coffee Pot webinars. That's what you're attending right now. Those are done monthly. We have our eBytes video series. We have our Paul and Mary Jo show. That's something that Mary Jo and I do. It's a very long format program that goes into great detail about every topic that we discuss. Mary Jo does 3 eBytes every month, one on WorldDocs, one on tabs, one on Practice Master. These Coffee Pot webinars are geared more towards things that you can do with software or towards things that you can add on to add functionality to the software. And then, of course, our monthly virtual user group meetings are specifically about that product. Leanne's all excited over here because she's got somebody with a question. Leanne, what question do we have?
Sharon wants to know, how would we do a search in Practice Master once it was converted to Readable?
Well, Practice Master has document management built into it. Of course, you have to be using document management. I guess that's something I didn't emphasize. Practice Master can save documents, and many people use Practice Master instead of WorldDocs. It's not quite the full-featured document management system that the dedicated WorldDocs is, but for many people, it's exactly what they want. And so once you've got a document in, all you need to do is go to the document search box and type whatever it is you're looking for and hit the search button. So that's, if you're using Practice Master already for document management, this is how you are searching for documents. If you are not, then you really need to start using Practice Master for document management before Symphony OCR would make any sense, because it doesn't just make you all of a sudden a user of document management within Practice Master, but if you are using document management in Practice Master, then it gives you the ability to search those PDF files. Do we have another question, Leanne?
Yes.
What do we got?
So do those documents look the same as the original, or are they kind of...
Oh, yeah, that's a good question. Yes, they look exactly the same. Some people, and whoever asked this, I'm not saying you're old, but I can because I'm old. We've been trying to OCR documents since computers were invented. And so the old definition of OCRing a document is not so much concerned with being able to read it and being able to search for words within it and have it know what those words are. In the old days, we wanted to take a set of interrogatories and scan them and then turn them into an editable Word document. And that's something that you can usually do within your PDF software. When I click OCR within here, I can create a Word document. I'm not going to actually do it, but one of the things I can do instead of just making this PDF readable is that I can create a Word document. That is not what Symphony does. Your PDF software already does this. Your Adobe Standard, your Adobe Professional, your Nitro PDF, which is what I'm using here, they all have this capability to turn a document into a Word document. And when that happens, and that's how I know this person's old, because as we went through the 80s and the 90s and everybody wanted to OCR documents, and we were trying to do it at the time into WordPerfect and then into Word as Word became more popular, we wanted it to look exactly like it should. And that's where your problems lie in OCR documents. If you're trying to make it an editable document within Word, sometimes it's easier to just make it an editable, make it a PDF that you can block the text and copy it into Word. Because once OCR software tries to make it an editable document in Word with line numbering or paragraph numbering or page numbering or things like that, it never ends well. So that's a different thing. Taking a document and OCRing it, or scanning it and then turning it into an OCR copy that can be edited in Word is different than what we're talking about here, because here we start with a PDF and we end up with the same PDF that has a layer added within the file. You don't really see that, but a layer added where it knows exactly what those letters are in addition to knowing what the image is. So, sorry for calling you old. You may be very young. I'm old, and I remember the days when we wanted to OCR things and put them into Word. Any other follow-up questions, Leanne?
No, that was it.
Okay. Well, that's it. Back on the website, I do want to just show you that we have these recordings of videos on there. So anything that we have ever done since we started recording years and years ago is going to be here. All these live events like the VUGs, virtual user group meetings, the live event that you're attending right now, the Coffee Pot webinar. And if you go to one of those pages, you will see a description of that particular video, a registration link, two of them actually, for the next video. And then as you scroll down, you'll get into recorded versions of the videos of the presentations that were made in prior months. This is the one that you're looking at right now, so it's currently in post-production. Not even there yet. I haven't uploaded the files for Brad to produce, but as soon as Brad is done doing the post-production, this will become a real video that you can watch and enjoy. So take advantage of all that. Everybody have a good rest of the day, and we will see you next month when we talk about, what are we talking about? Using Practice Master to manage marketing, one of my favorite topics. See you next month. Thanks. Bye-bye.